Hi there. Thanks for joining us today for how to fund your business in today's lending environment. We appreciate you taking the time to learn more about funding your business, whether it's the franchise, an existing business, or whether you're starting a business from scratch. All of the detail we provide today will apply to you and the option that fits you best. My name is Bridget Betzer. I'm your host for today's program. A couple of housekeeping items before we dive in. Our program is being recorded today, so all lines are muted. We typically do have a few questions and do leave time for questions at the end. So you will find that on your control panel, there is a section for you to submit an actual question. And when you submit that question through the program, we'll address those as time permits at the end of the program. I want to thank you again for joining us here this afternoon. Actually, this afternoon if you're here on the East Coast, this morning if you're on the West Coast. We're glad you're joining us here today. I do have to apologize. I am battling a little bit of a sinus infection here. I'm trying to talk clear, but please do just raise your hand if you are having a hard time hearing me, and I'll slow down a little bit. So again, just before we dive into this program here today, I'm Bridget Betzer with Frannet. For those of you who have not heard of Frannet before, we are a 30-year-old international franchise consultancy firm. We provide individuals just like yourselves a free coaching service where we take you through a series of steps to help you identify if franchising is a great fit for you, or even business ownership in general, and take you through a process where we match you up with franchises to investigate that may be a really good fit for you based upon your personal needs and wants in a business. We have consultants in all major markets of the U.S. and Canada. We have about 100 locally based consultants out there. We have some great national partnerships to help individuals just like you, partnerships with groups like SCORE and the SBDC. If you're not familiar with those acronyms, I would encourage you to connect with your local Frannet consultant and ask them a little bit about those other free resources in your local market. So my name is Bridget Betzer, like I mentioned, and I've been with Frannet for over 10 years now here in West Michigan. And yes, it is freezing cold here. We had what I would consider to be a blizzard-like outdoor scenario on Friday night here with snow and wind and sleet and you name it. And it is a balmy 37 degrees today right now. I grew up here in West Michigan, have a biology degree from Central Michigan University, and before joining Frannet, spent about 13 years with a small startup company that launched franchising efforts and grew to over 200 international locations. Today, though, we're going to focus on funding your business. And I'm very excited to introduce to you our guest speaker for today's program, Wendy Skemmer with Benetrends. Benetrends is a trusted partner with Frannet. They have a variety of ways that they can assist you in determining how to best fund your business in today's lending environment. Wendy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Bridget, and thank you everybody for joining us today to discuss the funding environment today with purchasing a business. As Bridget said, my name is Wendy Skemmer. I work for Benetrends. I'm a senior consultant here, and we are actually a full-service retirement planning company. We do help folks fund their business, but always with the protection of wealth and ability to grow retirement in mind. And because we are on a tight schedule today, I do go through the information quite quickly. I do highly recommend you connect with your Frannet consultant and set up a one-on-one with your senior consultant representative here at Benetrends. But right away, a lot of folks are probably saying, how do I see the money? I want to become an entrepreneur. Bridget or my Frannet consultant has found all these wonderful opportunities for me. We know a lot of folks are leaving their jobs. And so the reality of finding funding for a business is something that we're going to talk about today, and all good and exciting things to be talking about. Of course, we always think about when we're going to buy a house that we need a loan, buy a business that we need a loan, excuse me. Just like when we go to buy a house, right? The first thing we think about is I need to speak to my mortgage broker, get an idea of what the funding looks like so that I can go to my real estate agent and figure out what neighborhood to shop in. You guys, it's the same exact thing when you're buying a business. If you want to set yourself up on this journey for success and set up your consultant to help you better, the best thing to do, in my opinion, is to get an idea of your funding early on and to understand what the different options are. Yes, a loan is an option, but maybe there's a combination of options as well, or maybe you have the assets in your portfolio to
Wendy, I
buy
need to
a
interrupt
business
you.
without any debt. So let's go
Wendy,
through all the different options today, and of course, we'll answer questions that you have at the end. Oh, Bridge, it's hard to hear you, honey.
Wendy, can you hear me okay?
I can now. Can you not hear me okay? I can't hear you, Bridge.
You're breaking up quite a bit, Wendy.
It's interesting because you are as well. I don't know if it's the web connection through GoTo. I just did a Zoom call prior to, and I was good. My connection looks good. Do you want me to maybe call in?
Can you hear better now, Wendy?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, and hopefully all the attendees, we apologize for the technical difficulties. If you can hear us okay, could you just raise your hand?
Oh, wow, Bridge, you're coming in totally clear now.
Okay. And so are you. Wonderful. So the hands are being raised so they can hear us okay. Great. Thank you, attendees. I'm sorry for the interruption. Please continue on.
Oh, thank you. And just to mention, because Bridget and I have been doing this a long time, we have survived an earthquake here in California and lost connection and got back together. So we will make this happen today. We will, and I apologize for the inconvenience. So let's get right into it. As I was saying, if you couldn't hear me, when we think about buying a business, we should be thinking about what are all the options, as opposed to just necessarily thinking about a loan. But the reality is we very well might need a lender. And so let's go through what an SBA loan looks like. And then we'll talk about other creative ways that we can use your resources to fund your business. So one thing folks are usually surprised about is that Benetrends is not a bank. You know, why would Bridget or your friend net consultant send you to Benetrends if we're not a bank when you need money? And it's because, one, we're a broker and we work with hundreds of lenders around the country and can get you an SBA loan, but also because we know of other ways to help you fund your business that in the long run might be a lot more cost efficient for you, or other ways to help you achieve the ability to get a small business loan. So let's get right into it. The SBA program, a lot of times you'll hear about a 7A loan, a 504 loan, an express loan. Just know that they all go under the same standard operating procedures. They're SBA loan program loans, the most common loans that you will see for a startup and usually for an existing franchise opportunity. SBA loans do go up to $5 million. A lot of folks think that usually SBA loans are smaller amounts of funding, but no, they go up to $5 million. Some loans can start as low as $50,000, depending on what your needs are. And there are special programs that you'll hear referred to as the Express program, the 150 and under program. All of that just refers to the amount of the loan. It doesn't necessarily, in today's environment, mean it's fast and it's like taking the express train. A lot of folks want to know right off the bat, what kind of terms am I going to be looking at with an SBA loan? The interest rates right now are hovering at around 6% interest. Of course, they're derived from prime plus 2 3/4. Prime right now is 3 1/4. Most of these loans today are going to be variable, adjusting quarterly to prime. Occasionally, I am seeing a fixed rate lender. Without real estate, it's quite rare. The lenders do want to see strong personal credit. And what that really means, what that translates to today in a number is 700 or better, no foreclosure, short sale, or bankruptcy for the last 10 years. They'll usually want to see 20 to 30% of your total project cost from your pocket. So whether it's from retirement funds or cash, They want to see that you have non-borrowed funds of 20 to 30% to put down. Usually you're going to be looking at 20%. You might very well need to have personal collateral. A lender will put a first lien on your business assets, but if there is additional exposure, which most of the time there is, they will also want personal collateral. If you're located in a homestead state like Texas, we work with you to figure out what collateral will be acceptable by the lender. You will always need a business plan and a resume. Benetrends does provide templates. We don't do them for you, but we provide templates that lenders have been accepting for years. And a lot of times, when we're looking at achieving the goal, whether it's multi-unit ownership or the dream of owning that first business or territory, you do need a combination of funding. A lot of folks are utilizing retirement funds in our rollover program in addition to SBA lending to achieve their goal. What that does is it allows them to keep all their post-tax cash sitting in their pockets, and we'll discuss that shortly. What does it take to get pre-qualified for an SBA loan at Benetrends? We try to keep it as simple as possible. Again, I equate it to when I'm going to buy a house, I go to that mortgage broker. I want to, with as little impact to my credit score, as little impact to my pocket, I want to just find out what my eligibility is. What are my payments going to be? And that's what we do here at Benetrends. We keep it real simple. We have a no obligation, no cost pre-qualification. We can do that for you. It's good for 3 months. I think it's a great tool to do as early in the process as possible, so you make sure that you're looking in the right neighborhood, so to say. A lot of questions that I get on my calls are, what are the challenges that you're facing in today's environment with COVID, with closings and reopenings, with the volatility in the economy? What are we seeing? Well, I'll tell you, banks are lending. It might still be a little bit slower than what we're used to prior to COVID. So time is still definitely an issue in the world of SBA, but the bottom line is we're seeing improvement in that as their pipeline sorts through with all the COVID relief. But one of the topics that comes up today more than ever is liquidity. And post-closing liquidity is what you'll hear a lot of folks talking about in the world of lending. So what that means is I already paid my cash injection. I made my 20% out of non-borrowed funds. And after that, what kind of reserves have I left for myself and for the business? The bank does want to see strong post-closing liquidity. The timing of the franchise sales process, especially if you're going brick and mortar and you have to take into account real estate site selection, signing leases, I know a lot of times it seems a little overwhelming as to what is the timing of that. Your team here at Benetrends, in conjunction with the franchisor and of course your consultant, will help you figure out the proper timing to make sure that we're not putting anything at risk for you. In other words, we're making sure that your funding is in place before you pay any kind of non-refundable fees, so that we make sure we're setting you up for success. On the business plan, a lot of folks say, I'm sure I could do a great business plan, I just don't have the time. Maybe you're transitioning out of your job, or maybe it's, you're great at what you're doing and you're passionate about it, but you've never done a business plan. We do have resources that can do it for you at additional expense, but we do give you a great template that is a great toolkit to running your business later on as well. If you're leaving your job, you've lost your job. I know a lot of folks are leaving their jobs right now, right? We turn on the news, it's one of the first things we see is the great resignation. And so I am speaking to a lot of folks who are leaving their jobs. And there's a lot of concern if you've left your job and maybe you don't have somebody in your household still working. Do I still have the ability to get funding? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. It's not like trying to pull equity out of your house where they want to see you have income coming in your house. What they want to see is that liquidity. If you've built proper reserves or adequate reserves for the goal that you're trying to achieve, I could very well get you a lender without being employed. Communication and expectation. Whenever you're dealing with banks, whether you're going through a refi or you're trying to get a small business loan, it's usually the consistent message that expectations aren't met and communication is not kept up. With the role that Benetrends plays in this is to make sure that that does not happen, to make sure that you have realistic expectations and to keep the communication going. I always say the worst thing is not hearing anything. So when I'm working with my lenders, I'm always asking them, even if my client is still in review or waiting to get on the underwriter's desk or waiting for closing documents, some communication every couple days is better than nothing. I need to let you guys know, where you stand in your loan process. And so Benetrends will definitely be an advocate for you with the lender, which is really important. And if you're thinking, wow, I want nothing to do with an SBA loan, or I want to use some retirement funds in conjunction with an SBA loan, but I don't want to pay tax or penalty, now you really want to sit up in your seats and pay attention, because this program is amazing. So it's amazing because a lot of folks don't realize that it's out there, one, and also because of all the possibilities it brings with it. So it's considered the rollover as for startup businesses. If you're Googling it, it's the ROBS. Here at Benetrends, you'll hear it referred to as the Rainmaker Program. We are owned by the creator of this program, the brilliant ERISA tax attorney, Leonard Fisher. And he's still very much involved at Benetrends. And what we do is we help you utilize your eligible retirement funds without tax or penalty to open up your business. And again, a lot of folks, when they leave their job, think, oh, wow, I have my 401k. I could use that to help me with my business. But if you're under 59 and a half, you're paying penalty. And of course, no matter what age you are, if you have a typical 401k, you're going to create a taxable event for yourself. So here's a way where you could avoid that. And basically, the best way to think about the rollover is to think about, have you ever left a job in the past and took your 401k funds with you, went to a new job, rolled in those 401k funds, of course, tax deferred, penalty free, and then you were invested now in your new company's 401k. Well, if you did that, then you've done a rollover already. And here's an example of what would happen if you had just pulled that money out. Typical client I speak to just left their corporate job, mid-50s, has $200,000 in their retirement plan, and think, oh, I'll just pull that money out and find, this great opportunity through Bridget here at Frannet, and I'll be good to go. Well, if he or she just pulls out that $200,000 right away, because they're not 59 and a half, they're hit with 10% penalty. And then most likely it's right after they left their nice high paying job. So they're probably at a pretty high tax bracket. So a typical individual, if they had that $200,000 at their fingertips, would now only have $120,000. Now, not only just looking at that does that make me uncomfortable, and I never want a client to do that, but if you do this, you could be minimizing your ability to maybe be a multi-unit owner, or maybe get the loan that'll get you in the business that you're really passionate about, but you didn't think you could afford. So what if you could use that money without tax or penalty? And again, this slide just shows you exactly what I mentioned before. I used to work for corporate GAAP. I know I'm aging myself, but it was, in the 90s, and the GAAP was amazing. I loved my job, but then I got a job that I liked even more. And I took my money from my GAAP 401k. I rolled it into my new company. I started working for a company called Electronic Arts. If you're a gamer, it'll sound familiar to you. And anyway, I was so excited about my new company. I wanted to buy stock in my new company. That's exactly what we're going to give you the benefit of doing with this program. So you can turn around and roll over that $200,000 into your company's retirement plan. So we create your franchise corporate entity. You're a C corporation whenever you use retirement funds. And boy, would love the opportunity to share with you on a one-on-one conversation all the benefits that C corporation can bring for you. We then customize a qualified retirement plan for your company. So we're going to set you up just like Electronic Arts was for me, a company that sponsors a plan. So therefore, you can roll over your eligible retirement funds into your new company's plan without any tax or penalty. Now, as a W-2 employee of your company, you're eligible to do that. But one of your investment options for those original rollover dollars, think about that $200,000 example, you can now buy stock in your company. So just like I rolled money over from the Gap to Electronic Arts, I then invested in stock of Electronic Arts, and that was now in my portfolio. What we set up for you is that same opportunity for your franchise business. So you can turn around and say, okay, I'm going to take that $200,000 from my old 401k. I'm going to get in a cash position, and I'm going to buy stock in my company. So instead of having $200,000 worth of stock in Vanguard or mutual funds or whatever it might be, you're going to have that money invested in your company. Okay, you're privately held. It's not like you have to do a publicly traded company, and you hold all the voting rights, but you'll have the ability to use those retirement funds to invest in your company. So what benefit is that in that previous example of $200,000, you can now have access to that money in its entirety. So the ability to use pre-tax money, just like you can use to invest in everybody else's business, is one of the biggest benefits of this program. The ability to utilize these funds in conjunction with a small business loan. So I mentioned that lender is going to want to see 20% most likely of that total project cost in non-borrowed funds. They absolutely view these funds as non-borrowed because it is an equity investment. So right off the bat, it can help you achieve the goal of getting that SBA loan so that you can really have that liquidity that they're going to expect. It can help you optimize your equity in the company. Of course, you don't have to put down 20%. You could put down 50, 60% and really minimize your debt. Or maybe if you're lucky enough, you can buy your entire business with your retirement funds. Now, a lot of folks are probably thinking, well, does my plan qualify? The best way to think about it if your plan qualifies, one is I encourage a phone call with your representative here at Benetrends, but it's also easier to kind of think about, well, what plans do not qualify for? So know that if you have a Roth IRA, it is not eligible. If you have a rollover IRA or a traditional IRA, SEP IRA, self-directed IRA, all eligible. If you have an inherited IRA from anybody other than a spouse, it is not eligible. Otherwise, pretty much most of those plans are going to be eligible. If it is a company-sponsored plan, 99% of the time that relationship needs to be severed to release those funds for the rollover. As I mentioned, many folks in today's environment are utilizing retirement funds with an SBA loan. We've been doing that here at Benetrends since 1983. It is a very common path for multi-unit franchises. I'm working with a gentleman right now who's doing a seven pack of a brick and mortar. We're opening the first one with a rollover and an SBA loan, but he was able to use his rollover funds to hold his territories for all 7 units. And we will figure out whether we roll over additional funds or whether we go for additional SBA lending once we're cash flow positive in unit 1. But we partner with you to get you through that multi-unit path, which is definitely a great path to be on. It is a proven way to fund your business. We've had folks go through the entire cycle of their 10-year franchise agreement and then selling their business, folks unwinding their business. We've been through almost every kind of scenario you could expect in small business ownership. Now, I know I only have a minute left to try to be really considerate of everybody's time today, but worth mentioning, these 2 programs are not necessarily programs that I can help you with today at Benetrends. However, they can definitely be part of your funding strategy. A portfolio loan, a lot of folks don't realize that you can use a portfolio loan to fund your business or other things for that matter. So what that is it's similar to a margin loan. So you have marketable securities. Usually you have to have at least 100,000. Just like you can use your house in a home equity line of credit, you replace the house with the portfolio. So you can usually borrow up to 80% of the value, use as you go, so there's no term. Interest rates I've heard as low as 1.95. I have never seen them above 4%. What's nice about that too is usually you can do it right where your money is invested, and it's quick. I've had folks funded in 2 to 3 weeks, if not quicker. A lot of folks do use home equity line of credit. That can be used in conjunction with some SBA loans, can certainly be used in conjunction with rollover funds. And then lastly, participation loans. If you're not leaving your employer and you have a 401k, usually right where you are, you can borrow 50% up to $50,000. That can be used also with your SBA loan or with funds from previous employers if you have that. With that, I'm going to pass it back over to Bridget. Thank you so much. Apologize for the technical difficulties getting started.
Thank you, Wendy. So appreciate all that information. Now would be a great time to submit your question in the question box should you have any questions for us to address. Before we do get to that point though, Wendy's contact information is here on the screen, but as Wendy said, if you do have specific questions, the best approach would be for you to contact your local Frannet representative and have them connect you with your funding consultant at Benetrends. Wendy may not have the availability to talk with you. There may be another individual that may be better suited for your needs as well. To locate your Frannet consultant, just visit our website. You can visit us at frannet.com, and there's a button on the top of the website that you can click to locate your local Frannet consultant. In addition, if you're unsure of the best approach to take for your entrepreneurial journey, we can assist you with identifying the best option for you. That's through our proprietary assessment, the Entrepreneurial Readiness Profile. You can find that on our website at frannet.com as well. You'll see it's in the upper right-hand corner in an orange button. If you've ever taken a personality assessment before, this is going to feel a lot like that, but it's geared towards business ownership, and it helps us identify if buying a franchise would be a great fit for you, or maybe you'd be better suited for starting a business from scratch or buying an existing business. And our Frannet representatives can help you interpret the data once the results come in and assist you and connect you with local resources in addition to your Benetrends representative. So again, we would be happy to take a couple of questions here. I'm going to go ahead and pull our questions up from the question box. The best thing to do is to submit your question in the question box, as the lines will remain muted. So if you do have your hand raised, thank you for that, but please do go ahead to the question box and submit your question there. Okay, so the first question is, what is the fee, Wendy? There's a fee for the rollover program. Would you be willing to share that information?
Absolutely. So there could be variables that could affect the price. One, veteran discounts, or if you need something expedited, for example, here in California. But a traditional rollover is usually going to cost you $4,995 to get everything done. That's fully funded. Usually takes 21 to 28 days. The ongoing fees are $145 a month, and that'll include participation for up to 24 eligible employees.
Great, thank you. And I do see that there is a hand raised. Tony, if you have a question, please do submit that in the question box. Otherwise, you can feel free to contact your local Frannet consultant, and they can assist you with your question after the program here today. Okay, let's see if we have any other. We do not have any other questions submitted in the question box at this time. And I will just wrap up. I know that there was a lot of information shared during this program here, and you may have questions that come up after thinking a little bit further about the information shared. Wendy and Benetrends does a great job at getting all of those addressed for you when the time is good for you. Just contact your local Frannet consultant and they'll connect you for further conversation. So quiet group today, there aren't any other questions submitted at this time. So we appreciate you taking the time to connect with Wendy and I today to learn a little bit more about lending and funding your business as you look at those entrepreneurship journey here. If we can be of any further assistance, we'd be happy to work with you one-on-one after today's program. Thanks again for joining us today. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bridget.
Absolutely. Take care, Wendy.